Hello, good morning to all. Thanks for your interest in this webinar. I kindly ask my colleague to share the slide. Thank you. So this webinar is organized within Access to EIC, thanks to DLR, one of the partners of Access to EIC, and us, APRE, who is the coordinator of the project. As you can see, Access to EIC is a coordination and support action that put together the EIC and EIE NCP from all over Europe. So through the project, we try to improve the participation of applicants all over Europe within all the EIC work program. I just put here some tools that we developed through the project. We really encourage you to have a look to them, since they can be a support to your application. You just need to go to the website of the project, and you will find everything. As my colleague Michaela Holz, that I'm going to leave the floor in 1 minute, will present the session of today. We'll end with a Q&A session. So here you can find the QR code. It's on Slido, so you just have to use your phone. You can and you will join the Slido session. You have to put EIC, and then you will have the opportunity to make the question. So thanks to all again, and thanks to our speaker. I will leave the floor to Michaela.
Thank you, Alessia. Good morning from my side as well. A very warm welcome to all of our participants online. Thank you to APRE for organizing this event today, and hello also to our speakers. I'm very proud that we have 3 speakers today. We will be having Viral Peka, the head of unit for transition and also responsible for the EIC Advanced Innovation Challenges today, presenting the instrument itself, followed by Heidi Carey, who is program manager for artificial intelligence, presenting the first challenge, embodied intelligence for next frontier of AI-powered robotics. And then we will be having Oshi Simmons, who is program manager for health and biotechnology, presenting the challenge 2, translating disruptive new approach methodologies into practice. What we are going to do is giving you guidance today in order to prepare a hopefully successful proposal that you are going to submit on 26th of February, so very soon. We invite you to put on, even during the presentations of our speakers, to put in the questions that might already have occurred during proposal preparation, or that occurred during the presentation of our speakers. Last but not least, I will give the word to Viral directly. So thank you again, Viral, for taking the time today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michaela. I hope you can hear me well. Do you hear me? No, I will take that as a yes. So good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for your interest in Advanced Innovation Challenges. Let's start. This should not be a repetition of the info day, but rather focus on your question. Just starting very quickly, why do we have introduced this pilot? Well, there were a lot of recommendations, from the Draghi report to the board recommendation. So there is a strong, let's say, push and political will to experiment with new approaches, including with ARPA-like programs. So that's a very good reason. So that's why we have introduced this pilot in the Work Program 26. And some of the goals are to assess if this, let's say, stage-gated approach and also increase of the demand side will lead to, let's say, to accelerate the innovation and presence in the market of innovative technologies. Just a very quick, let's say, a reminder of what are some characteristics of advanced innovation challenges. So again, we want to reinforce our capacity to take higher risk and to support a quicker update of innovation by involving early involvement of users. And basically, we have these two stages. In the first stage, will provide us a smaller, not necessarily very small, but a smaller amount in a very simple way, using for the first time this lump sum type 1. And then we will basically validate and benchmark your solution. We'll select the most promising one, and then we will proceed with a stage 2, where we'll provide a more substantial funding for the development of the solution from, let's say, TRL 4 to TRL 6 or 7. And then the last introductory slide. Normally, in ARPA or even in the PCP, you have 3 stages or 3 phases. Let's put it like this. Due to the time constraint, but also to the fact that in the phase 1, the solution design there, we can leverage already and shorten the time in the same time, leverage the numerous programs that exist and are focusing on this, from ERC, including ERC POC, Pathfinder, but also numerous national programs. Let's not forget 70% of support for research and innovation happen at member state level. And then we will have, and then we transform this in a kind of an entry requirement, and we will only have the stage 1, and then select the most promising proposal to the stage 2. And then just as you know, we have two challenges in this, let's say, this new framework. One is accelerated physical AI, and the other one is the new approach methodology in health. Each of them with equal budget. And then the most important goal of this slide is to draw your attention, in case you didn't know, that we had an extended info day on these challenges on 17 November, and there is a very good recording of that session. You have the link here, but if you just say EIC FAQ, you immediately see the various sessions, and you can choose the one on the AIC. Thanks to Alessia and Michaela, we receive already a few of the question in advance, which is very good, because it started to give us a kind of a flavor. So one of the first question was basically, what would you recommend to submit to the EIC transition and when to the EIC pilot? I just would like to remind some small differences. First of all, the TRL range is not exactly the same, in the sense that in transition you can start with TRL 3, while in the Advanced Innovation Challenges we would require a minimum of TRL of 4. In general, but you never know, we have seen some exceptions. The challenges, because they are obviously more narrow, have a higher success rate. And then obviously the scope of the 2 challenges is included by definition in an open call, but not the other way around. And obviously we have different timing, in the sense that AIC, as you know, will close on 26th of February at 5 p.m. and then the transition is 26, if I'm not mistaken, September. So obviously very different. And then obviously there are also other differences. So will not give you a concrete answer here. Depends on your situation, but yeah, I hope this is informing your decision. And then a very interesting question, to be honest. Can one applicant submit more than one proposal to EIC pilot? And then when I read that one, I immediately went to the work program, and unfortunately, we didn't put any limitation. But so in theory, yes, you could, but in practice, honestly, I don't think you should do this. I mean, it doesn't increase your chances if that's what you are after. On the contrary, it may raise some question about how serious and what is your final goal. You know, so really, my strong recommendation is just focus on one proposal and try to make a very good proposal. It's hard enough to have one successful, not to try to spread your focus. And then another interesting question, what is the proposal for stage 1 expected to describe? How far ahead must be anticipated what it to be achieved? And I said it's a very interesting and you would say a very good question, but it's just a bit at the surface, because it really shows that the person or the organization who asked this question didn't, you know, kind of did his homework. And my recommendation is really, if you are serious to apply to this to EIC, is to obviously listen to the info day presentation, but also read very well, or even several times, the word program. You know, every word matter, but also read very well then the proposal template. And we have spent a lot of time also on this one, especially because it was a bit new. And we try to provide at least as many explanations to make it as self-explanatory as possible. And just to give some example, I will not go all of them, but you know, if you look into the section 1.1 of the template, it says describe the main idea of your project, your innovation. Here you can explain what you want to overall achieve. So I think it's quite self-explanatory. It's not just the stage 1, it's just the overall picture. Okay, and then even the other one, what specific problems or opportunity your project addresses. This is not what specific problem you address in stage 1, and so on and so on. So really, please really read, and then of course I forget to mention, read also the FAQ. We put a lot of effort into this, and we will update with some of those questions. Okay, let me go very quickly to the next question, because the time is important. Will beneficiary of stage 1 already have access to the business acceleration service? Again, another example of a question which shows that the one that asked it didn't read the work program, because it says very clear at page 61, in addition to funding project, we receive tailor-made access to a wide range of business acceleration services. Stage 1 and stage 2 are projects, and it's very clear from the context that both stage 1 project will receive business acceleration services. And then beneficiary for stage 1 expect to already develop an initial market business and money stage 1, and then it's already mentioned also in the text. Develop an initial market analysis business plan, obviously in the challenge text, not in the common part. So again, it shows the requirements are clearly mentioned. And then another question, very good. It says how to demonstrate that you are integrated the demand side. And then first, you have in the proposal template, you need to describe the use cases for which your solution will be tested, and why those use cases are the right one and are relevant and appropriate. And then another requirement is to substantiate the link between the use cases and the letter of intent. So, and then when we configure the SEP submission, there is a possibility to add this to have as annex 1, or if you have more, a letter of intent. So these are all cases how you can demonstrate these important characteristics of the EIC. Advanced Innovation Challenges. How must the potential user or / demand side showcased in the proposal for stage 1 be involved in the consortium of stage 2? A bit similar, but not the same question. Let me quickly remind here the disclaimer, which is it's I think even in the beginning of the work program 26, that the stage 2 is pre-announced and obviously will not be something completely new, but still officially will be defined in the work program 27, and obviously our experience to date will inform us there, and then the letter of intent should show the interest of the genuine interest of the stakeholder representing the demand side, and it means it's not just for the stage 1, it's for both, for the project in itself. So in other words, for stage 1 and for the technology and innovation, in other words, stage 1 and stage 2, and then obviously in the stage 2 as opposed to stage 1, you can continue as a mono beneficiary, or you can have a small consortium of 1, 2, 3. But again, let me mention that there is no obligation to include the stakeholder or the user demand side in the consortia in stage 2. It depends it's up to you to do this. There is no obligation and there is no best scenario or our recommendation, whatever makes the most sense. And I think is acceptable for applicants to focus on just one product, or should they focus on one program during the project while also demonstrating the potential for further application products in their proposal? Well, first of all, we are not talking about the product, at least at TRL 4, we're talking about innovation and technology. So, and also the work program and the template talks about a specific problem or opportunity that you try to address. Okay, so I think that's important, and that you need to describe the use cases in which will be tested. So here I would say, which I also say for transition, less is more. Okay, so don't try to say we'll do 2 products, we'll do 3 products. Just focus on one and address. You can address one use cases or perhaps more than one use cases, but don't try to spread and too thin. I think there is a high risk there, and the same applies for the markets. You know, you can address more than one market, that's for sure, but don't try to address 10 markets or even 5 markets. Try to focus your resources and the development, because well, in the beginning you have only 9 months, and even there it's a lot. It's not easy. And then another, I would say one of my preferred question, to be honest, how large should the target market be? With the proposal for a product that target a niche market also be considered? The short answer is no. I mean, this is one of my kind of things that I would like to highlight, not only here but also in the transition. I've seen a lot of proposal in transition. You know, one of the evaluators even characterizes the niche of a niche market. Okay, so there are so many issues that you can address that are really big, and these markets, I mean, if you take just the first challenge on physical AI, I mean, this market is foreseen to boom and so on, and even if you take a part of that market, it still should be considerable. Otherwise, why would we fund at European level anyway? So and the evaluation criteria are clearly mentioned. This: does the innovation show potential for wider adoption or scale up? And then innovation brings sufficient added value to demonstrate attractiveness to investors. I would like to see an investor that, if you come with a proposal that it show, I am targeting a very niche market, and they will say, yeah, take here 10 billion and here. And then also there are other questions in the evaluation criteria and the template that kind of point you into the right direction. And then the last question I will address now, and then if the dual use application are permitted in the AI, I would say not really, because the defense omnibus, which you may have heard, introduce this possibility, finally approved to the only for the accelerator, and for the Advanced Innovation Challenges, there are no specific reference to dual use and the overall Horizon Europe regulation applies, so there is only civilian application. And moreover, the two challenges are defining very clearly the areas, and I haven't seen any military one or dual use. So yeah, that was my part. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to the other questions that you may have.
Thank you very well. So the message was clear, dear participants. So be focused and target a big market, and do your homework and read the work program and go through the proposal template. But again, if you still have any questions, then check the FAQ and stay tuned for the Q&A session just after the presentations. And with that, we will be going on, and we'll be having Hedi Carré, who is presenting to us the first challenge of physical AI. Hedi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michaela. Hello, everyone. So I'm Hedi Carré. I'm the program manager for artificial intelligence in EIC, and I am managing this challenge on accelerating physical AI. So as Viorel mentioned, a lot of details are already in the Info Day record, and then also in the call text and the description of the challenge. So today I will just try to give a short presentation reminder on that, and would be happy to answer to specific questions. So I will not, as I said, address what I have already addressed in the Info Day regarding the market and the importance of this physical AI area and the potential of the market in the upcoming years and the next breakthrough. I think all the community are agree about the deployment of AI in the physical world, and this challenge is aiming to accelerate this development towards more integration, deployment, and commercialization of breakthrough physical AI solutions, which is very important for the technological sovereignty, sustainability, and the global competitiveness of Europe. Yeah, so I mean, from innovation perspective, as Viorel mentioned, we are not looking for products, but more for innovation. So we are looking for proposals that could provide innovation in terms of, let's say, disruptive innovations that demonstrate at least two of these technical aspects. So intelligent perception and cognition, adaptive learning and optimization, autonomous decision-making and collective intelligence, human AI collaboration and interaction, and physical integration and innovation in terms of, let's say, sensors and so on. So the idea is really to address what is still issues and represent issues in terms of scientific research and innovation and problems that are not yet resolved on that aspects. So to give you some details about those different aspects, let's start with intelligent perception and cognition. So what you would like that machines and robots. So that's why also I would like to emphasize that even if you see a lot of humanoid pictures, the objective is not only to address humanoids. So we talk about machines and robots in general. So what you are looking for is to interact safely and efficiently, and then adapting to challenging real-world situations through robust multimodal understanding. So perception and cognition, the objective behind is to really understand real-world situations and have this multimodal understanding. That's why we are looking for robust sensing. So advances in sensors to gather diverse multimodal data, so in terms of vision, sound, touch, and combining all of that to build this environmental awareness, let's say that. And then also to deep understand the word and have this like word model in order to interpret and use those inputs from sensors to well understand what is happening and how to react, and then like to analyze those multimodal inputs in real time and make reasoning in terms of processing and making adaptive decisions. So that's why we talk about perception and cognition. Then regarding the adaptive learning and optimization, so what we are looking for is to enable, again, robots and machines to achieve superior results in terms of reducing errors, operates in a flexible and dynamic manner in real world settings. So what we are looking for is to bring more capabilities for those robots in terms of continuous improvement. So we are looking for, let's say, robots that and machines that where AI is embodied in terms of making those machines and robots learns from experience and feedback. So continuous improvement of their cognitive capabilities and learning capabilities and so on. So what also we are looking for is to adapt their behavior in specific situations and environments and tasks to do, and for that is like in continuous, and then to have an intelligent resource management in terms of allocating the resources, manage the energy, time, and so on. The third aspect is about autonomous decision making and collective intelligence. Here we would like to have robust, scalable solutions for dynamic environments. So powering applications from search and rescue, for example, robots, swarms, and collaborative factory automation, and so on. So that's kind of swarm decision, real-time problem solving. So multiple physical agents that can collaborate and work together in order to solve a problem. And be aware in a specific situation how to resolve it on real time. So as I said, in swarm coordination, and then also build collective intelligence, and this is also related to this continuous learning and so on. I mean, that's why also we mentioned this, like the aim is to at least address, at least two of those aspects, because we believe that there is a strong connection between them. Then the human AI collaboration and interaction. So what we are looking for is more in trust-based interaction and making AI to be as a partner in workplaces and daily life, and in a safe, efficient, and comfort manner. So we are looking for innovation and addressing this technical aspect about safe and intuitive interfaces. So in terms of enabling, making machines and systems communicate and respond in natural and transparent way, have this collaboration with humans. That's why we mentioned also cobots or humanoids and so on, and also to work together. That's like the teamwork between the human and the physical AI system. And then the last aspect is about the physical integration and innovation. Here we are looking for, let's say, have more intelligent machines can sense, act, and let's say using new kind of sensors and then actuators and maybe even materials to construct those robots or machines in order to have them more smart and flexible and so on. So having like approaches and addressing this from bio-inspired design and bio-inspired materials and so on, so that's allow to build those physical AI robots or machines that are more natural, that allow them to have also more intelligence. So that's those physical aspects and let's say materials and components will help to improve the cognitive and capabilities. So all of those aspects should be applied in 3 application domains that we have selected. The first one is about the disaster response and civil security. I will not go through that, but it's not about defense, it's more on civil security and disaster response. And again, it's not about humanoid only. So as you can see, there is drones, there is other kind of physical AI. The second domain is the autonomous labs for scientific discovery. So we are looking for self-directed scientific environments where AI and robotics design, execute and analyze experiments with minimal human intervention, as again, different kind of machines, robots, and so on. And the third one is the personal or professional robot assistant. So here we talk about different kind of robots or machines that can support individuals at home or also professionals in their workspaces and workplaces in order to automate or to help automating repetitive and complex tasks. So, and here also again, humanoids and cobots and so on are welcome. Yeah, so to conclude, what we are, let's say, looking for through this challenge is to build a portfolio that can cover the different technological aspects that I have mentioned, and then also the domains that I have mentioned. So that will be a combination of technical and domain coverage. Also, the key components is the compliance requirements and adopting the trustworthy AI principles. And regarding the entry requirements, so what we are, let's say, looking for is already having an initial physical AI system prototype that already tested in the lab, so TRL4, access to an appropriate infrastructure for data collecting and testing, and then also have a challenging use case defined by the end user and supported by the letter of intent. Regarding also the activities that we are looking for in the first stage, we are not looking for to move from TRL 4 to 5 at this level, or 4 to 6 or 5 to 6. So what we are looking for in the first stage is really to validate and benchmark. So we would like that you refine the initial prototype in a relevant environment related to your use case, develop your methodology for performance assessment, assess the different aspects regarding ethics, data, scalability, and also identifying challenges, because there is for sure safety, certification, scalability, and so on. And then also conduct initial performance benchmarking, and again, also having in mind the initial market analysis. So this is what we are looking for in this first stage of 9 months. And the milestones is to, at the end, to reach at the end, stage 1 is the evidence of the technical viability, the clear commitment from the end user. So regarding the use case and this refinement and validation of the prototype with the use case, and then for sure delivering a full proposal for stage 2, which will be also assessed alongside those milestones. Yeah, so those, like a reminder about the content of the call, and then your questions are welcome. I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Heidi, for these very valuable details on the first challenge. And with that, we will be giving the floor to Ushi Simmons, who will be presenting the second challenge, translating disruptive norms into practice. Ushi, the floor is yours.
Okay, I think I will be taking over. Michaela, I'm looking at you.
Yes, please go ahead.
Great. So we will switch topics a little bit and move to the second area covered by the Advanced Innovation Challenges on translating disruptive new approach methodologies, better known as NAMs, into practice. My name is Ushi or Ushi Simmons. I'm the program manager at the EIC for Health and Biotechnology. You can see here also the name of my colleague, Federica Zanca, who's the program manager for medical imaging and AI in healthcare. And the reason for this is that we together are overseeing this challenge because, as you'll see, we are covering sort of health development broadly. So that covers both biotechnology, medicines development, and medical devices. So that's why the two of us are on this together. So what exactly are NAMs? Why are they subject for an Advanced Innovation Challenge at the EIC? Many of you might know this, but really in recent years, we've had a lot of breakthroughs in terms of developing systems such as 3D human tissue culture systems or organ on chip, or in the digital realm, things like digital twins and AI-based predictive models, which have the potential to really replace, reduce, or refine animal use in testing by enabling human relevant data-driven validation, for example, for medicines development or for medical devices. However, even though we see that on the technology side, there have been a lot of developments, we still see in the field that the adoption of these solutions remains fairly low because, in part, limited regulatory acceptance or perceived limited regulatory acceptance, linked to that, a lack of confidence amongst end users, and insufficient standardization and benchmarking. As I mentioned, the lack of regulatory acceptance, we just wanted to highlight here, this is a not conclusive list, that in fact there has recently been a lot of momentum in changing that. There has been a lot of very public news on increased regulatory acceptance of such new approach methodologies. We've also seen the introduction and acceptance sort of developing standards. So we see that this field is really changing, which is the reason why we think now is really the time to really speed up this development of these technologies towards the market. And so the vision for this specific challenge is really to move from lab-based proof of concept to clinical and industrial adoption of new approach methodologies, phrasing this a little bit differently, to accelerate the uptake of disruptive NAMs in biomedical research, safety, efficacy, and quality testing, and enabling human relevant, ethical, and faster innovation in health. I would already highlight here that, we explicitly mention health. So really this challenge is very specifically focused for uses of new approach methodologies in the health context, so the development of medicines or medical devices. What we expect and sort of the scope of the challenge is that applicants should propose the further development of innovative and disruptive NAMs addressing one or both of these areas, again, either preclinical biomedical research or the testing of medicinal products or medical devices for safety, efficacy, or quality. I would briefly pause on this slide to highlight two key aspects. One, you can see here in the scope that we talk about the further development. I think this has previously been mentioned also by VRL. We are looking here at TRL 4, so it's about the further development. We expect that the proof of concept already exists. And I would also highlight that we explicitly mentioned that we're looking for innovative and disruptive NAMs. So it's not enough to be developing a NAM. We really expect that there's an innovative and disruptive approach that goes beyond the current state of the art. We've included here some potential examples of NAMs that would be in scope, but again, already as mentioned previously by Viorel and also by Hedi, please use the work program description to identify what is and what is not in scope. So for example, we sometimes get asked about things like C. elegans or fish embryos, whether they would be acceptable models. They are not listed amongst those technologies in scope, so that would not be an option. But here you can see that we look not just at the technology, so this can be in vitro or in silico, but also in chemico. So really it's listed extensively, but also that they can be applied in different settings, both in drug development and in medtech applications. So just coming back, I think you've now heard this multiple times today, but of course the challenge is structured into 2 stages. The one that we're focusing now is the first stage, which is focused on feasibility and de-risking, meaning that we're really looking at TRL 4 to 5, whereas the second stage will be focused, that will come in the next work program, will be focused on scaling up and validation at TRL 5 to 7. But so to be able to apply to the first stage, the expectation for this part of the challenge is that you have proven viability at TRL 4. So really this is important that you know what TRL level you are at, and I will show in the next slide to really pay attention to this. We also expect that applicants will have a letter of intent from at least one stakeholder, an industrial end user, or a regulatory body. So I'd like to emphasize this also. It's not an and, you don't need to have both. One is sufficient for this step. And an industrial end user is really defined broadly at our end. But what we expect is that applicants really understand who they're developing for, what would be needed to really enhance the uptake of their solution. So that's why an industrial end user involvement, for example, is very important. And of course, for both stages, it is expected that applicants have access to appropriate infrastructure to carry out their work. I mentioned this already multiple times, how important the TRL level is, and I just wanted to highlight, given that we accept many different types of NAMs, be they in vitro or in silico solutions, to make sure that applicants really assess what is the current TRL level of their development. In the EIC work program, we define the TRL 4 as technology validated in lab, but there can be sort of product or application technology specific interpretations. There are links available in the work program to some of these supporting resources, but I really encourage applicants to take a closer look to make sure that they really know what TRL level they are and can sort of apply accordingly. So zooming in a little bit more into the first stage, what are the sort of types of objectives that we would expect? We're really focusing here on establishing feasibility and de-risking further development by creating and understanding what kind of trust and evidence need to be generated. So during this first stage, that beneficiaries will then map the regulatory, clinical, and industrial needs that are required for the uptake of the technology by engaging the relevant stakeholders to address these points. Also to develop what would be the methodology for performance assessment and already conduct small-scale feasibility studies and initial benchmarking, while also addressing things like aspects on ethics, data governance, and scalability. And by bringing this together, by the end of the first stage, applicants must be able to demonstrate really the impact and readiness of their technology. So having evidence on the viability of this approach for human relevant innovation, to have a very clear commitment from end users, and a clearly defined regulatory plan for further development. I won't go into the details on the second stage because A, for time, but B, also because as you already heard in the first presentation, this will really be part of Work Programme 2027. But here you can already see that the goal is then to really take innovations from stage one to further develop and validate these prototypes and test them then in real world setting by benchmarking, but also demonstrating in different product testing environments, stakeholder workshops, or in the context of external infrastructures, and to further develop the regulatory grade data packages as needed for different applications, and to move towards sort of scalability, standardization, and uptake barriers, removing them. Collectively, these two should really result in building trust by generating the necessary data both for end users and for regulators, thereby allowing really to scale the production of these technologies and moving towards more predictive human relevant testing to then really refine, reduce, or replace animals in the testing of medicines or medical devices. I won't spend too much time on the slide because Viral gave a very great introduction to what are we really looking for, to encourage you to really read the work program as well as the application templates. But of course, critically, we are looking for clear human relevance as well as breakthrough nature of the technology to make sure that end user and regulatory engagement is there from the beginning, and that applicants use this to develop a truly realistic path for validation and standardization, while also paying attention to ethical and governance aspects. And given that this is a broad topic and includes both technology development, but also really looking at sort of those end users and the regulatory engagement, of course, we also expect that you have the right team on board to be able to develop the technology. And I would close here. I've tried to keep it very short and highlight some of the areas that we often get as questions, but of course, I'm also happy to address further questions.
Thank you, Ushi. Thank you for this in-depth information. We will be now going into the Q&A, and I would be asking to have all the speakers on stage with me, and also to show the questions that we have received over Slido. So, dear participants, please be aware that the time we are given today by our speakers is very precious. So we want to use it for any important questions in order to prepare the proposal. And we ask your understanding that we are going to sort out questions that are too basic, but also a bit too specific. If you still have questions after the session today, you are very much invited to get in contact with your respective NCP. But the session of today will be staying on YouTube, so you can watch and rewatch as many times as you want, and take all the informations out of the very extensive and in-depth presentations we just have seen. So, without any further ado, the first question I would give it to Viral, and I would broaden it up a bit because it's very specific. The question is if the demand side can be from a country outside of Europe. The example here is Canada, but I would broaden up. So, could it be the demand side be outside of Europe in general? Viral.
Thank you for the question. Very, very interesting again. I was trying to look for the in the work program, but as far as I remember, it doesn't say anything from where this letter of intent if should be from let's say demand side in Europe or not. So I think from that point of view, it's not restricted. Obviously, that would mean, for example, that this cannot be even in theory included in the as part of the consortium in stage 2. And you remember what I mentioned, that there is no requirement in this regard, so it should be okay. However, you need to somehow keep in mind the evaluation criteria, and also to make the case that this is not just for, I mean, this market is just not in Canada, okay? So it can be that the first users or the interested stakeholder is not in Europe, but definitely we don't want to to support products that will not be commercialized in Europe as well. And of course we are interested in the big markets, and I will not repeat what the work program says, but definitely we want to see this also deployed in the European in the wider European markets, including European Union, of course.
Thank you. Next question seems to be very basic, but maybe just to make it clear again, a question to the program managers: should the end user be identified before application to stage 1? So I think this is a question you both can take one after the other, and I would ask Heidi to start.
I mean, as a requirement, we need to have a use case defined by the end user. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so logically it should be defined.
Exactly, and Ushi, I think the same for you.
Well, indeed, and in our challenge, we also specifically ask for a letter of intent from an end user. So indeed, it must be very clear generally who the end users are to be able to capture the use case, but also at least one who provides a letter of intent.
Yeah, and I don't know if the question was the end user of the end innovation taking by maybe in stage 2, but there can't be only one end user. There must be several end users anyway, don't they? Yeah. So next question. At Info Day, there were a lot of pictures of humanoid form robots, but Heidi, you said it very clearly in your presentation, and I invite the person that asked this question to rewatch Heidi's presentation, that it's not about humanoids, it's all forms of machines are allowed. And then there's a question I've been, there are two of the same question, the next one, the green lighted one and the next one. So it's a question for Ushi. The question is about the application of the end user, and both questions are a bit of the same. They are asking, but you made it very clear, Ushi, that the end user should be industry or regulatory body. And here the question is, could the end user also be a non-profit organization?
Yeah, so I would specify here actually explicitly that in the work program, we ask that an industrial end user provides the letter of intent. That is not the same as, for example, a pharma company. So it is an end user who really takes up an industrial product. So it can indeed, according to that interpretation, be, for example, a non-profit. However, again, coming back to this previous point, we expect that this end user would in some form be representative of that market, or generally the end users this technology would target in the future. So I hope this clarifies the question. So it's not an industry partner explicitly, but an end user where that ensures the industrial uptake of the product.
Thank you, Ushi. So next question is regarding TRL levels. So Viral, you have been taking a whole slide on the TRL levels, but there seem to be still some questions on the on this kind of specification. So the question is, could our when submitting, I guess, so the person that asked, I think it's TRL level 5, when submitting, would this be eligible?
Well, I thank you. Again, it shows how such a relatively simple concept of levels can be super complex when you zoom in, and it never ceases to amaze us and keep us busy. Well, indeed, and here I invite also the PMs, because there are requirements in each one. It says at least TRL 4, right? So it's not TRL 3 for once, that's clear. But this question is a bit simpler, because in general, you say that you can say that you have a certain TRL level, whatever level, if you achieved that TRL level. So you are at the end, is not, you can say I have TRL X when I kind of started on it. So basically, concretely, it means that if you are early TRL 5, it means you started your work to achieve TRL 5, but you haven't achieved it. So you are at TRL 4. And the same at almost TRL 5, which is even, how should I say, more fuzzy than starting the work towards it. It's still, you don't have it, right? So I would say you are at TRL 4. But I invite Eddie or Rushi if they want to comment for the specific part.
I think you already well summarized it, and then also, I mean, if we talk also about 5, it will be the same for 6 and so on.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah, and if really you are in TRL 6, means like you are ready for accelerator. So we encourage you to go to accelerator.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Ushi, do you want to add on this?
No, I mean, for us, again, I think, it's at TRL 4, TRL 3 must be completed, but TRL 4 broadly defined.
Okay, thank you, Ushi. Keep your mic open. The next question will be to you. So during the info day, I remember very vividly, it was said that projects are expected to join ERA working groups. Maybe can you elaborate on how are applicants supposed to do that, and will you support them to do so?
Yeah, indeed. So we were very lucky during the info day. We had multiple stakeholders, both from sort of the in vitro and the digital side, presenting other initiatives on NAMs at the Commission and more broadly within the EU. We also had the JRC presenting, and one of the initiatives that was highlighted were the ERA initiatives on NAMs. I wanted to flag here. So what we would expect to happen, as Hedi highlighted for his challenge, we also will have a portfolio approach to the NAMS challenge, meaning that the selected projects will work together in the first stage. And in that stage, for example, we're expecting that there will be a stakeholder workshop where we will bring together partners such as the ERA challenges, and thereby hoping that we will create these connections that will really enable, again, further uptake of these solutions by bringing all the important stakeholders together.
Okay, so you are going to support and to find the, a suitable ERA. The applicants are not supposed to look out for themselves.
Indeed, so this is anticipated as part of the portfolio approach in the stage 1.
Okay. Once again, if you are still up for it, we see another question on your challenge. So the question is very specific, but maybe you can broaden it up again. So would also solutions be eligible that are not a central issue of replacing animal testing? Like here, the example would be digital models, for example.
Yeah. So I would say that new approach methodologies are routinely defined with the aim of reducing, refining, or replacing animals. So I think it would be very hard for applicants to justify why a technology with a different use would fall under the umbrella of an AMP.
Thank you. The next question we will be taking is a one for VRL. Again, it's pretty specific here. Let's broaden up this question. So first of all, what I read here, the question is, could a beneficiary of stage 1, or does the beneficiary of stage 1 has to be also part of the consortium in stage 2?
That's a very interesting question, to be honest. We like I mentioned, the stage 2 is put there informative and will find and refine in the work program 27, and I think this is a very interesting question that will act as an input to that. The only answer, so it's not yet defined, as you probably have seen the text. And the only answer that I can give, very, very approximate, is that we have a similar approach, if you want, in the transition, where we are saying that the transition, you don't need to have the same beneficiary, because we are focusing on project results. We are supporting we are follow on, not on the beneficiary, which might even be not legal, but on the results, okay? And in that case, you can be different, but then you need a letter. So I can, for the moment, this is not yet defined, but I take note of this question when we will refine the work program 27 and the stage 2 in particular, to make sure that that this is the case. And I would dare to say it may even make sense, because of course, as you move the TRL ladder, a university or a research institute become less and less suitable as a legal form, and you want, as you go towards accelerator, to have a company there, an SME basically, or a startup. So yeah, I would say for the moment it's not yet clear, but definitely this makes sense.
Okay, so then just keep your mic open, Vera. Next question is also on stage 2. So please, participants, the stage 2 criteria will be more defined in the upcoming work program 2027. But again, there's a question on the interdisciplinarity. So how are they supposed to showcase the interdisciplinarity with a max of 3 partners in stage 2?
I don't know, perhaps Ushi or Eddie can give some examples, but to be honest, we do not see that this is an issue. You can look, for example, even in ERC, they are mostly mono-beneficiary, and they have excellence and excellent results. It's indeed, there may be, let's say, a limit until you say, okay, I need this and that to be a bit more multidisciplinary. That's clear. But after, it becomes a drag, because a bigger consortium doesn't necessarily mean a more successful one. It can be in certain cases, but not all of them. So we try to strike a balance here between having a consortium that allows for multidisciplinarity and so on and so on, and that is also agile and can move quickly and improve the TRL level. And that doesn't mean that within the same beneficiary you cannot have people that have expertise in several disciplines. So I think, to be honest, this question, the underlying kind of intention looks very research oriented. Okay, so again, this is not a research scheme. Okay, this is not that you go to Pathfinder and so on, but not here. So yeah. I don't see that having only a max 3 participants in the consortium is an issue. It's a limitation here.
Yeah. Maybe we can take the question, the fourth question here, because it's in the same direction. So the question was, how large should a company be in order to be able to fulfill what you expect? Maybe this is a question for the program managers. So would a startup be in the first, as in stage 1, but also in stage 2, would a startup be sufficient to be the beneficiary of AIC project?
For sure, that's I mean, for a startup, I mean, the only restriction, if I I will remember, is to have corporates that apply as let's say the coordinator, but also corporates could participate in this stage 2 as a use case provider or end user. But it's open to startups, SMEs, and even research groups. And then also to link with the previous question regarding the spin-off, and this is one of the objectives, to open it to research groups to allow later to, I mean, emerge the spin-off. So that's like, I mean, it's not a matter of how big is the organization, but most important thing is the innovation itself and how they can show that they are doing well in terms of improving. So I mean, also multidisciplinarity, same things. I mean, how innovative you are and how you will show that you are doing better than what exists in the market, in your benchmark, and how you can satisfy the end user requirements.
Thank you. Do you want to add on this, Oshie?
No, I would maybe also specifically reference the work program where we mentioned that startups are eligible, and maybe also linking it back to the previous question on, of course, what matters is that you have the required expertise either in your company or, for example, by accessing infrastructures or subcontracting some of the activities you're planning to carry.
Perfect, thank you. Next question will be also going to you, program manager colleagues. I will be taking the one which is on the bottom. Will applicants receive feedback? So this is a really interesting question. So maybe you can elaborate on how you are going to work with the projects chosen for your portfolio, and how maybe feedback is given, and how you will support them to then go to the next stage, to stage 2. Maybe you can, present this to us. Maybe Hedi, please start.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a program manager in the portfolio approach, we work closely with the projects in order to follow what they're doing, to support them, also to facilitate the access to the bus services, for example. And then also having this portfolio approach is to link, I mean, let's say, beneficiary between them also. That's one of the aspect that we ensure. The period is short, so what we are not looking for a lot of deliverables. So the follow-up will be like, I mean, more informal, to have meetings with them, regular meetings, and so on. So we are not looking for like having a report each month or something like that, but we will walk close to the projects to help them to achieve the milestones of the first stage.
Will this collaboration, will this be formalized, or what would be the formats of this?
I mean, it's case by case. It depends to the application, to the use case, to the technical aspect. So we can intervene on the different levels. So let's see what excellent projects we will select, and then we'll define this with the projects.
Okay, thank you. Oshie, How is your portfolio going to collaborate?
Indeed, I would really mirror what Hedi just mentioned. I think a proactive approach is an important part. And I think, again, this will be a case-by-case approach, given also that every project will have very specific needs. And so, hands-on management really tries to engage with that.
Okay, so Oshi, I would ask you to keep your mic open. There are many questions coming in the LOE.
Michaela, just a very quick intervention,
course.
because I think the question here refers to the evaluation, and just to say that we do not plan to just take it feedback to the users, whether in terms of results or intermediate results between the step 1 and the step 2 of the evaluation. Okay, it's only at the end when they will receive the overall result.
Okay, but still, again, many questions coming in regarding the LOI. So I think Oshi already answered many questions on LOIs, but maybe we take one of the, again, bottom questions. So there is a project having multiple LOIs. So is this considered positive for the application, or would it be better to focus on only maybe one specific or the most promising end user?
So again, the pre-requirement is having an LOI. I would maybe link that to, I think VRL really nicely demonstrated at the beginning to consider the application as a whole. So what we'll be looking for is that it is a breakthrough technology innovation, that really it will have impact. So it's for the applicants to really sort of make this clear in their application, and sort of put together the evidence in a way that's easily understandable. And if that is best done by showing one letter of intent from a key end user and explaining how they are representative of the field more broadly, versus highlighting that they have many end users already, potential end users lined up, that's really sort of for the applicant to decide what's the best way to demonstrate these things, but to really think not just in terms of, yes, the LOI is a pre-requirement, but to also think that more generally, the application has to demonstrate the impact overall of the technology.
Yes, thank you. There are many questions regarding formal aspects of the funding itself. So the instrument is funded via lump sum approach. So which means that you get you don't have to so it's in a lump sum approach, which is rather new maybe to some of you applicants, as you are more used to the expense-based funding. But maybe VRL, you can elaborate a bit more on this, and also answer the question when the funding is dispersed. So if you read carefully the work program, then you should know that the projects are going to start on 1st of October, the latest. So the selection period will be rather short, but the question is valid when they start on 1st of October, when the funding will be dispersed.
Thank you for this question. Indeed, I mean, all these split in the various categories was done by with the help of the PMs to obtain this commission decision, which was a first, because we used an estimation of an expert, a PM in this case, looking forward, and all the other cases, ERC POC, ILPs, were looking backwards, and obviously it's much easier if you have 4 or 5 years or of data to show that this is the budget. what you will have, so you will not have to go into these details, and you have obviously flexibility there as long as the overall amount is exactly 300K. However, you will have to give an allocation per work package, okay? And obviously the amount, the sum will have to be exactly 300K. And then regarding the pre-financing, there is nothing new, whether it's type 1 lump sum type 1 or type 2 or 1A, 1B, whatever, or none is a pre-financing. It follows the same rule, and you will receive it as soon as you sign the grant, let's say, and normally it's before you start the project, except that if you want to start the project before, but that's not the case here. And so yes, you will receive the pre-financing in advance.
Okay, so then there is a question on matchmaking. I don't know, what do you think if you don't have your demand side at hand by now? I'm not sure if you would recommend you, the program managers, to submit, to now starting to look for the demand side in order to submit for 26th of February. So normally as NCPs, we always recommend the European Enterprise Network in order to find your, a good industry partner. I don't know, colleagues, program managers, do you have any other recommendations? But this would then be for another time, and it's not for this time.
I would maybe second that of course we think it's very important at this stage that you already have a clearly defined end user in mind. Without that, I think it would have been difficult to really reach a strong proof of concept even. But I would maybe also highlight that at least in the New Approach Methodologies Challenge, we hope to, again, through stakeholder workshops, ideally bring together also end users with the developers to potentially broaden sort of your horizon of who you could connect with.
Okay. Do you want to add on this, Heidi? Not really. Okay. So again, for your challenge, Oshé, so there seems to be a case that an applicant already has a pilot study ready with their NAM. Yeah, and would they still be eligible for stage 1? Would you recommend them to submit the proposal if they already have their pilot study ready? This is the second question on the screen.
Yeah, so what I think I find this question difficult to answer, given that it's not clear to me then sort of why they would apply to this challenge, given that either they are more advanced, i.e. they've already covered elements even of stage 2, or is it that the technology itself, for example, would enable other applications that where stage 1 and stage 2 would then be a good fit, for example, to expand in portfolio. But I think it would sort of still be difficult. If it's a more mature setting, I'm not sure why applying to the Advanced Innovation Challenge would make sense.
Yeah, wouldn't this, VRL, wouldn't this be a perfect example for actually a project that is more suitable for the EIC transition then? Because you have to be a bit further in EIC transition than in the EIC Innovation Challenges.
Indeed, or it's not very clear which TRL is this.
Yeah.
So it may be even for accelerator in that case. And again, I think the goal here, it shouldn't be, or the kind of the driver for this application, honestly, shouldn't be, oh, there is an amount of money there, let me get it there. If you have something that is very solid, then I can assume it's not easy. So you should better focus on that, and not just try, kind of dilute your focus by trying too many things in the same time. So I would be a bit skeptical for this, but I agree also with Ushi. It's a bit difficult to answer from just the text itself.
Yeah, in the same direction, another question: is it appropriate to apply? That's a very opportunistic question. So someone is asking if they're allowed to apply in parallel to the AIC and some other programs or instruments in Pillar 2.
Thank you, Mihaela. You said it, I didn't say it though. But yeah, that's a good conclusion, which I agree. Now, obviously, in the real life, it's very, yeah. These are the approaches. Obviously, nobody prevents you from doing this. There is not yet a possibility to coordinate or corroborate the two. But in case that you are successful in both, which is not a very high probability, but it's not zero, then we have a very clear and strict requirement of avoiding double funding. So I would, and that's very, I mean, it's taken very serious and so on. So if you use the same proposal, then obviously you may say I increase my chances, etc., etc. But then yeah, if you are successful in one, then you should not proceed with the second one.
But it would be very curious, because in order to be at this stage where you also could apply Pillar 2 cluster calls, then you should have already done the case study of stage 1. So it doesn't make, actually, I mean, even the person asking this question, if you think about a more deeper, it doesn't make any sense. It would be completely different projects then.
And also, absolutely, Mihaela, and also Pillar 2, I imagine it's a consortium, while here we are talking about mono-beneficiary and so on and so on. So yeah, it's not the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have another question regarding challenge 1. So Heidi, personal assistant as a target application, would this be appropriate for your challenge?
So as I said, it could be professional assistant or personal professional. So I mean, a factory, like a factory that there is humans to collaborate with robots. That's one of the end users, and then also maybe aged care services that would like to deploy robots to take care of aged persons or something like that. So it's really open. We will not say, yeah, we would like this. It's up to you to select the right end user. I mean, that's for sure. It depends. The end user depends to what you are developing. So that's also, I mean, should come from you.
Thank you. So as we are coming to an end, and the questions, the most relevant questions seem to be answered, I would say thank you to you, dear speakers. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your openness to help our applicants to prepare their proposals. Dear participants, if there are still any questions open that haven't been answered, please feel free to go and contact your NCP with this and discuss them in more detail. And with that, I will give back to Alessia.
Thank you, Michaela. I just want to add a thank you to all of you. So to Michaela, Viorel, Edi, and Ushi for the support. Also to my colleague who is in backstage, but who supported us in the organization of this webinar. So many thanks. The webinar will be has been recorded. I mean, it will be on the website, and we will share the link with all of you. So many thanks, and have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.